Hey everybody, we are back. Watercolor Wednesday. Playing around in the Learn to Watercolor book by Lacey Walker of Rebel Unicorn Crafts. I'm in no way connected to or sponsored by or anything to this book. I just saw it and picked it up because I wanted to play around with watercolor. And I decided to bring you guys along on the journey. So here we are. Let's find our little cheater card. Set it up there. Here was last week's. I'm pretty okay with it. I think I like them. I like the pieces once they dry a little bit better than in progress. So there is that. So this week is Golden Hour. And so the cool thing about this book, if you guys are just joining me, is it's a book with instructions plus this side is the pre-printed images to paint on watercolor paper. So as you can see, we've got our golden wheat going on here today. So, supplies for this one, a size 4 quill brush or a size 12 round brush. Maybe I just need to go buy me a size 12 round brush because I don't have one. And we run into this every week. So, a size 11 is what I have. And it says a wash brush. Now, when you look at these pictures, it shows a wash brush as like a big palette brush. I don't really have one of those. Yeah, I don't really have one of those. I'm saying that I have a wash brush, but it's like super thick, so we're not gonna get that much water going on here. But I do have this guy. This is a well, it's a Royal Langnickel Zen brush, and it holds quite a bit of water, so we're going to play with that as our wash brush. Again, I'm using what I have. I don't think I have, yeah, the next biggest thing I have in this stash is this guy, and he's really not that big, so we're going to use this as our wash brush and just make do with it. So, there you have it. So the color palette is Payne's Gray, Permanent Yellow Deep, Phthalo Blue, Quin Magenta, and Vermilion. The techniques we're going to do are wet on wet, wet on dry, layering, and back runs. That sounds interesting. So let's see here. Golden Hour, Sunset. Says, I love the combination of the soft bleeds of color and the surprising brightness. Painting combines a stunning sunset with a simple foreground shadow technique. The shadows create a big impact but require less work than painting details. Okie dokie. Step 1, mix a little of each color except the Payne's Gray to about 40% saturation so they are easier to grab and add to the page in step 2. Tape down your paper. We're using lots of color and water. Using your flat wash brush, wet the entire page to about a gloss stage. Okay, so I need to mix a little of each color except the Payne's Gray to about 40% saturation. Each color, there are 4 colors. I have 3 trays. So I need to find another tray. Let me see what I have here. Let me see what I have. I have this. Again, I have this as well. I have these are smaller, so, and that paint on there is permanent, so. Okay. Back in my chair, get situated. See if this other one's cleaner. No, it's not. We're gonna work with that. as our number 4. We'll work with that as our phthalo. Excuse me, I can't quit yawning. Our phthalo blue. Okay, so she said mix all 4 colors, except the Payne's Gray, to about 40% saturation. Again, I'm still not understanding the 40% saturation. But we're just going to go with it. We're just going to get some color mixed up. 40% saturation, I would think that means I don't know. I don't math really well, and so when you start figuring out, I just don't do that really well. So, permanent yellow deep. We decided that would be our 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna get a good mix of it on here. And then phthalo blue. Bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think is what we decided for the phthalo blue. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That looks very purpley on here, but we'll work with it. It's going to be a little distorted because it's in this tray with that permanent blue stain on it, but we're gonna make it work. Okay. And then Quin Magenta. I'll set you over here. Our Quin Magenta. Top 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I've ever, I don't think at the beginning of this I didn't really go over these watercolors. I don't know where I got them. I don't know what brand they are. They're just, I'm gonna assume they're some cheap brand. I've had them in my stash for a while. So if you're curious, I don't know. And then our last color is Vermilion, which is a really pretty red, which is not much different than the Quin Magenta, to be honest. Get a little bit of this orange in here for this Vermilion. Okay, what do you guys think? Do you think I got enough? Okay, I think I've got enough going on here. Before you start adding, okay, so using your flat wash brush, wet the entire page to about a gloss stage. Okay, we're gonna use our let's get everything out of the way here. This is our wash brush. to a gloss stage. That's quite a bit of water on here, I think. So we have wet the entire page to a gloss stage. Before you start adding color, remember that all skies look different, so prepare to go with the flow. Fill your brush with permanent yellow deep and make a few strokes around the heads of the wheat. Okay. Fill your brush with the permanent yellow deep and make a few strokes around the heads of the wheat. Yellow deep. Okay. That is this. And it's showing that's not very much at all. And that's probably more than a few strokes, but we're going with it. Oh. And then, without washing your brush, add vermilion above the yellow strokes. I washed my brush, but that's okay. I tell you what we'll do is we'll do this. We'll use it straight out of the thing, and then add the vermilion above the yellow strokes. I don't know how far up, but... And then wash your brush, then load it with Quin Magenta and add it above the vermilion. Quin Magenta, add it above the vermilion. I don't know how far up to go. Looks like she's going pretty far up. If you don't wash your brush, the pink may be a little muddy. In the upper left corner, I want a hint at the fact that there's a blue sky above the sunset. Wash your brush, fill with phthalo blue, and place just a few strokes in the corner. Then let it soften into the wet page. Okay. So we're still doing this. In the upper left corner, I want to hint at the fact that the blue sky above. Wash your brush, fill it with the phthalo blue. Place a few strokes in the corner and let it soften into the wettened page. I assume it's supposed to go together there. Maybe. Continue making random diagonal strokes. Oh, diagonal is that way. Leaving some areas of white and concentrating the color more in other areas. Make sure the paper stays wet while you're working. If any area starts to dry, drop more clean water in that area. Add in more bright spots of the Quin. Get some areas of higher concentration of color. I chose these colors in this order because when they bleed together, they make the color that would be between them on the color wheel. If I place the yellow next to the blue, I'd have green skies. Stop working on this layer before the paper starts to dry. Dry your brush on a paper towel and use the dry brush to pick up any excess water collecting around the edges to prevent backruns. Let this layer dry or make it dry. Okay. I think we're gonna just keep going with that. I feel like I want this to go down a little further. Just in case. Wonder if that's what she means by back run. Watercolor really lightens as it's dry. You may notice that stunning environment is soft and pastel like mine once dry. Wonderful thing about watercolors is you can always add another layer on top of it if you want to add a layer. Okay, so let's do this. I think this needs to be situated. And I think what we want to do, I'm not liking that situation there at all for whatever reason. The paper's warped, and so the pink is bleeding up into that, which is fine, except for I don't want it bleeding up in a line like that. Okay. Ooh. Stop working on this layer before the paper starts to dry. Dry your brush on a paper towel. Okay. And use the dry brush to pick up any excess water collecting around the edges to prevent back runs. Maybe that's what she's talking about as a back run. That right there. Okay. Let this layer dry or make it dry. So we're gonna have to make it dry with our, this down here I can probably blot with our towel because there's nothing going on down here. I'm going to read ahead while we're doing this. I think mostly I want this bottom part dry because we're not going to do anything up here unless we want to add more to it. Just the area around where we're going to color in the wheat, I think, is what needs to be the most dry. Okay. So, step 4, watercolor really lightens as it dries. You may notice that your stunning vibrant sunset is instead soft and pastel like mine once dry. The wonderful thing about watercolors, you can always add another layer on top of it. If you want to add another layer, wet the entire page to a gloss or satin stage and add colors as you wish. Evaluate what your previous layer has given you and embrace what went well and compensate for things you'd prefer to have been brighter or softer. I only added more of the Quin Magenta, Vermilion, and Permanent Yellow and was bolder with my placement. The previous layer will show through and help weave these two layers together. Let this layer dry or make it dry. So we need to decide if we want to add to this. And I want more of that yellow. And I think actually I was supposed to wet it first. So let's see here. I want more of that yellow, and I even want it darker than it is in the tray. This paper is so warped for some reason. Guess I didn't get it taped down good enough. Okay, we're gonna get that layer dry. Area right there is not wanting to cooperate. It's like, I don't know if you guys can see it, there's an obvious like bold line right there. I'm not a fan of. Okay, step 5, fill your brush with the creamy consistency of Payne's Gray and start on the wheat heads. Turn your paper so your brush angles lines up nicely with the direction of one side of the wheat kernels. Okay, and I assume that she wants me to use this big fat brush for that. I think I might cheat. I think I might go down a little size. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I think I might go down a little size. Oof, that looks big too. And here's my other dilemma. My Payne's Gray is kind of a mix of, I gotta mix up my Payne's Gray, so it's really not all that creamy, unfortunately. So let's see here. And this, let's just mix this up. This is black with some water. And I'm gonna, my Payne's Gray, to me is like a blue black. I think I'm gonna do this a little different though. And I think I'm gonna add some green. And it'd be like a green black Payne's Gray. Because this is, you know, grass and wheat and all that. I wonder how ugly that's gonna look. it has a green tint to it, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, the problem is going to be is I can't get it creamy because I have to mix this paint. So we'll just make it pretty, quote unquote, thick. As thick as we can. Yep. Okay, and then so she's showing. Tap the tip of your brush and push lightly to form each kernel. Rotate your pages so the kernels on the opposite side line up with the natural angle and you hold your brush. Okay, we're gonna work with this. Okay. And then it says tap off any excess paint in your brush so that just a little remains at the tip. Lightly drag down the center and towards the bottom of the page. Do this with all the wheat heads. Okay. You see, it's not going to be dark enough, I fear. We're just going to make it dark enough. I have no idea what I'm doing. And these want to run together. I don't know that they're supposed to, but they want to. And then let's see if I can do a... That's pretty thick, but okay. I can work with this. I don't know that I'm doing it the exact way that she's telling me to, but I'm trying to keep it dark. And like I said, these little bits want to run together. I don't know if they're supposed to or not. I couldn't imagine doing this with that big brush. You just move on along. Again, they're running together. I don't know that they're supposed to, but We'll do the lines later. Right now, let's just work on getting these wheat heads situated. I don't really think of watercolor as being so intricate, but this is certainly... Ooh, that's all running together. I'm just going to pull down from that. Moving right along, just a couple more to go. Ooh, they're so tiny. Maybe they wouldn't run together if I was able to use, you know, like, if I was able to dip it right onto the pan. Like it said, you know, dip it into the creamy. And I don't have that option, so I had to make it so my Payne's Gray is a little bit more wet. Okay. Let's draw these tips. I'm scared to touch my paint to it. Because of that right there, I didn't want it to be that thick. But I have to get paint on it or it's... I assume the next step is going to have me fill in all these lines. But let's get this going first. Okay, do this with all the wheat heads. I did it. To add the grass at the bottom, fill your brush with the creamy consistency of paint grays and lightly flick it up and down in individual strokes to make blades of grass. Continue this along the page. I wanted lots of coverage across the bottom, so I took about 4 separate passes of these flicking strokes, letting it dry between passes so I wasn't picking up the excess pigment. Continue till you're happy with the coverage. Let this dry or make it dry. Okay. I feel like I need to... I'm going to need to mix up some more of this paint. And I feel like I should have went all the way to the bottom with my yellow. Because I've got an obvious line of white. Although hers is pretty filled in. So maybe I'll just keep doing these strokes until it's filled in. Although, again, I'm out of the paint, so maybe that'll... Eek. Okay. So yeah, if I keep doing that, it'll fill it in. So let's mix up some more Payne's Gray with the green. Or the black with the green. However we want to consider it. Whatever we want to consider it. I might even use this big brush. At least down here at the, yep. Down here at the bottom to cover some cover up the white. I think moving forward with these lessons, I think I probably need to read through the whole lesson before I get on camera with you guys. Okay, I'm liking this over here. I think I've got our white pretty much covered. I've still got some white going on here. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I need to spend some time and read through, even if I read through the lesson with you guys on screen, so we can kind of plan accordingly, I guess. And mainly now I'm just kind of looking around to see if there's any, I want to cover up these pencil marks. I mean, they kind of fade into here to where they look like they're brush marks and all that, but that, you know, when this dries, it might be a whole different story. It might be like, why did you not fill in the pencil marks? At least. I don't know if you guys can see them, but I can see them. Okay. And I kind of actually honestly like how dark this is down here. I don't know if, again, on screen, if you guys can tell. So I'm going to kind of try to give that a little bit darker. Okay, did I cover up all the white? I will say this, I did a good job at remixing that black green, because it's not like it's a whole different color going on there. I don't know, I kind of like it. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I think that's the last. Yep. Let's continue until you're happy with your coverage. And I think I'm pretty happy with that coverage. Let me stand up and look. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So there you have it. That was our lesson on golden hour. I'm okay with it. Next week we'll be doing the end of summer bouquet. That is a more detailed painting. Doesn't look like there's any washes going on, so that should be fun. So anyways, thanks for joining me this week on Watercolor Wednesday. We'll be back next week and tackle an end of summer bouquet. But for this week, we finished the golden hour. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.